warning that young adults just aren't reading daily newspapers like they used to. So 4 weeks ago, the Toronto Star, Canada's largest newspaper, launched something new, an alternative weekly called I. Trouble is, there's already a weekly reaching those readers. Now, a nasty little circulation war has begun, and Colin King has been watching the fight.
This is a story of David and Goliath. Or is it a tale of Goliath and David? That's what's at the heart of the toughest little circulation war Toronto's seen in years. The near-billion-dollar media giant TorStar backs I Weekly, but in this fight, I's the small new kid on the block who wants to shake things up. I editor Steve Jarrett.
We want to be stirring up some shit. We want to be making people uncomfortable that we think deserve to be uncomfortable. And we want to be, in 6 months' time, we should hopefully be right down to the grassroots level so that we're covering the high end of culture and we're covering everything else.
Now magazine owns the market. So even though it's tiny compared to TorStar, it's the giant to knock off. And now editor Michael Hollett is already predicting his readers will enjoy watching TorStar fail.
I think they'll get a kick out of seeing that big bags of money and big ambitions and big greed is just not enough to get what you want.
Fighting words, big greed, but Michael Hollett's casting himself as the little guy, the underdog in this scrap where neither paper wants to appear the fat cat. Here's what the fight's over. Hip, young urban adults, 18 to 34. Now has them. Now's what they call an alternative weekly, a freebie that brought in $6 million last year. It's hip and crammed with the listings that attract the readers the advertisers want. The stereo outfits, the distillers, the brewers, who wrap themselves comfortably around Now's left-of-center point of view on drugs, Uncle Sam, and the business of recreational drugs. Not to mention the so-called business personals, some hardcore, that have made Now notorious.
And we like this on the cover, all this busyness and everything. Perfect.
Michael Hollett and his founding partners, student activists from the 70s, launched Now 10 years ago. Hollett's faced down each contender who's tried to end his monopoly. He's never taken kindly to challengers. And this fight, he says, is special.
You got to know where we're coming from at Now magazine, that we can get pretty enthusiastic about stopping the biggest publisher in the country from trying to sort of snuff out one of the few new independent media voices in the last 10 years. This is the kind of thing that's got to be close to our hearts. It's a particular type of competitive situation we can get excited about.
I's ultimate parent, TorStar, makes a perfect target for Hollett. It racked up $937 million in sales last year. It owns Canada's largest daily, 24 community papers, and more. But I's equally skilled at slapping its own spin on this circulation war. I's spin? Paint Hollett as Goliath. Easy to do. The Star placed its corporate child off premises, so its staff could be closer to the street, where the target market is, and where I editor Steve Jarrett can point to Now as Goliath.
They're the little struggling paper with the staff of something over 100. We're the big corporate giant with 14 people. So
that's right. And the resources of the Toronto Star behind you.
I'm still waiting for them to arrive. Are they coming on the truck today?
Yes, they're coming with the truck.
Big bags of gold bullion are be pulling in any minute now.
In fact, help was on the way. Jarrett, a veteran Star staffer, hadn't been given a lot of resources. This was the scene 3 days before I's debut, a shambles. Jarrett had been worried he wasn't going to make it. But then he raised the warning flag.
Hello.
And the Star's solution was spent.
I don't even know where we're going to put this. Where do you want the scanner?
And for the next week, all the computer software, the hardware, and the extra people I needed rolled in. The next day, the brass. Star editor John Honderick was sniffing the air.
So what do you think? Is it going to be a hit?
Absolutely.
Honderick was getting his own glimpse of life a bit closer to the street.
So we'll make it now, but it didn't look like we would 24 hours ago.
The next night, strings of 12 to 14-hour days were rolling up into one final frustrating all-nighter.
I haven't taken those pages. Steve, nothing has gone editorially that you have not approved. There's only 4 editorial pages gone.
Still, with the final pages getting to the printer the next afternoon, hours behind schedule, I made it. And fired some surprising shots at Now in this page of make-believe letters to the editor, where Michael Hollett was tagged a millionaire trot, laughing all the way to the bank. Seems the Star brass wasn't pleased when Hollett leapt into print earlier, saying their greed was behind I's launch.
I think we all thought it was kind of a sleazy shot, to tell you the truth. It has no basis in fact, and it's, as I say, it's very hypocritical when you're making the kind of money that they make on their advertising. I know what their profit picture looks like. As much as they try to hide it, I know what they make, and they're making a lot of money.
It's a crafty strategy. Exploit the gap between Hollett's leftist stance and his capitalist success.
Are you embarrassed by the fact you've done very well with this?
I'm charmed by it. No, it's sort of, I think it's, you know, life is full of contradictions, and the more comfortable we get with them, the more fun we'll have.
Michael Hollett's as smooth as the best of them. Listen to this. Ask rival editors to look at each other's work. Ask Michael Hollett what he sees in I.
Confusion. I see guys taking their sons' baseball caps, putting them on backwards, and going down to the rec room and listening to their kids' records and trying to make some sense of it.
Describe what I see?
Ask I editor Steve Jarrett to scan Now.
It's just so gray. It's just like, you know, it deadens the mind as you want. Instead of getting into it, you look at it and think, well, maybe later I'll get to it. And as you go through the book, later I'll get to it. Legal Coke safer. Well, that's a position, I suppose.
But which